Welcome to 1000 Days Sober. My name is Lee Davey. I am not an alcoholic. I refuse to be anonymous. I am someone that doesn't drink alcohol, and I spend every waking moment of my life helping other people do the same, like right now. Welcome to another Trigger Clinic, my folks. Trigger Clinic, for those of you that do not know what a Trigger Clinic is, well, let's go back a little bit. What is a trigger? So, a trigger, my friends, is when we feel a craving or a need to drink alcohol, okay? And when we get that need or when we get that feeling, we call it at 1000 Days Sober a trigger, all right? A trigger, because we are triggered to drink. So, just going to wait a minute until we hit 12 o'clock, and then I'll smash straight into it. So, yeah, always remember that without that desire to drink alcohol, we wouldn't drink alcohol. And we would just be able to stop whenever we wanted, right? So, for example, I don't have the desire to drink gravy, right? I just don't have it. So, you know. Hey, Stella, can you hear me okay? Just let me know if you can hear me okay. Because I got these new headphones on, so I'm not quite sure if they work all right. So just drop a little note in there for me if you can hear me okay. That would be really appreciative. Yeah, as I was saying, I don't feel the desire or the urge to drink gravy. I don't feel the desire and the urge to drink cups of tea. I mean, I drink them, but I don't feel the desire. Thank you, Stella. I don't feel the desire and the urge to drink them all the time, right? But you know, when we get into that spot where we're addicted to alcohol, then yeah, we get that desire to drink it. And if we didn't, it would just be like gravy. We'd just be able to give it up, right? It would be gravy. It would be easy. We wouldn't have a problem with it. So that's why we're here talking about triggers, all right? So this week we're going to talk about what is normal and what is not normal as we dissect Kim's book club trigger. So Kim is a member of Strive. Hi, Tina. Strive is the support network that underpins the 1000 Days Sober community. Okay, so we call ourselves Strivers for any of you that are new. And Kim is from Australia. And this is a trigger that she recently had. And what we ask our Strivers to do every time they are triggered is to answer 11 questions. And then when they answer the 11 questions, it allows them to process their trigger outside of their head, okay, and onto paper, or in this case, e-paper. And that in itself is an amazingly powerful tool, because when we're inside our head, we are battling resistance. And resistance is that voice, the addiction, the ego, the wounded mind, every aspect of us that wants to keep us small, okay? And we don't want to be small at 1000 Days Sober. We want to be powerful, okay? So actually processing this trigger on Strive really helps, really helps. And not only does it help you process it, but then other people, right, other Strivers, they can read what you're writing and they can post comments and stuff, and they can question and get you thinking and point out your blind spots. Sometimes when we fill in these 11 triggers, there is a bit of defensiveness that comes up about it because resistance is in control. It doesn't feel like there's any in Kim's post, but sometimes that happens, and it's really important that you have people around you that can point out these blind spots from a place of loving kindness, all right? So without further ado, the first question of the 11 is describe the trigger in brief. So Kim says, I was at a book club and we had lunch and there were women drinking champagne and toasting and I felt uncomfortable, like I was missing out or the odd one out, okay? So that sets a scene for us so we can have an understanding of why Kim was triggered. And if anybody is going through the process of addiction to alcohol, this trigger seems a fairly common one, right? It's not common for people to be drinking champagne, but when you're in the presence of people drinking champagne, I don't know about you, but for me, it kind of ratchets up the kind of nostalgia and the status link to this feeling of being special, right? So when I grew up, champagne was for posh people. So champagne was for the higher class. Champagne was for people in the status hierarchy that were better than me, that were richer than me, that were wealthier than me, that were more successful than me. When I grew up, to celebrate special occasions, my dad would buy pomaine. Do you remember pomaine, Stella? Tina, do you remember pomaine? We definitely drank it in the north. Pomaine was basically cheap champagne, like very, very cheap sparkling water, crappy alcohol. Okay, that's what we drank. People like us do things like us, the working class that lived on a council estate in Redditch, Stockport. Anybody got champagne near you, and it was like, oh wow, wow, like such a special treat. Like if you think about it, champagne is the Christmas day of alcohol. It's the Disneyland of alcohol, right? It's like the peak experience. And when it comes to nostalgia and thinking about champagne, and think about when we drink it at celebrations, we drink it like at weddings, we drink it, we see people winning sporting events and showering everybody with champagne. Has anyone been to the races in the UK and put their suit on or the frock and gone to the races and drank champagne? So there's a real elitism to champagne. Okay, why is that important? I know this is important for Kim because I know Kim and I work with her on a one-to-one basis. And I know that one of the reasons that Kim drinks alcohol is because she is working through this need for approval. Okay, so my mentor is teaching me that every time we have an experience, whether that experience is sad, whether that experience is a happy experience, whatever it is along the spectrum of emotions, that you can pull the thread of that experience and it will lead to one of three needs, right? Like we need to feel approved of, we need to feel secure, and we need to feel like we're in control. Okay, so I know from working with Kim that from the moment that she can remember anything back as a child to current times, when she thinks of her most happiest and saddest moments, they're heavily linked to approval. So she's grown up her entire life believing that her self-worth and her power and her abilities and her rank in the social hierarchy of status, okay, is determined by what people think of her. So it's external validation, or as Carol Dweck teaches in the book Mindset, fixed mindset. Okay, so what that means is we will not go through life creating a life that we want and that suits us. We will actually fit in and conform to what other people want because that makes us believe that we're part of this, right? Jillian Clark, I think that's my Auntie Jillian. If it is, nice to see you, Auntie Jillian. Welcome here as I talk about this trigger. It's nice to see you. So that is really important to bear that in mind. Okay, now think about this. Let's say me and Kim had never worked together, and this is the first time she's posted this trigger. Posting it allows us to go through the process with her and decide and determine and understand that approval is a problem, right? So the whole point of going through this trigger process is to understand the root cause of why we drink alcohol, okay? The fact that we're drinking alcohol is just like, it's a way of numbing a problem that we don't yet know what it is. Okay, so the work that we do at 1000 Days Sober, the work we do at Strive, is always chipping away and asking why, so we can get to the root of it. So where Kim is at a moment is she's doing her own personal work around, well, why is it that I've always needed approval? Why is it important to me? So she's doing that work at the moment, okay? So that is why this is really important, because if you keep posting your triggers, then people like me, people like Tina, people like Stella within the Strive community, they will be able to help you pick out these kind of like trends and to ask you these questions. So she was at a book club, everybody was having lunch, and the women were drinking champagne and toasting, and she felt uncomfortable, like she was missing out, okay? So think about it. She can't have champagne, everybody's toasting, and she's the only one that has a flute. She's the only one with a Shanghai Starbucks cup full of water, while everyone else has got a flute of bubblies. It does feel like you're the odd one out. What time was it? It was 1:30 in the afternoon. What day was it? It was a Saturday. All right. Now, for a lot of people, most people who become addicted to alcohol, the weekends is the problematic area, because we build a story in our mind that the weekend is our downtime, is our reward time. Like, we've worked really hard at the weekend, we've worked really hard in the week, so we deserve a special treat. So Friday nights and Saturdays, and for me, when I grew up in the Welsh Valley, Sundays, massive trigger days, all right? The other thing about a Saturday that I just want to draw to your attention is there is, in the thought phase of the Strive method for addictions, which is our program to help people quit alcohol, right? 6 phases: stuck, thought, ready, initiative, vigilance, and evolution. So in the thought phase, there is an assignment that people do called time. And the reason we put that in there is because when we're thinking about whether we want to stop drinking or not, it becomes overwhelming to us, because we start, resistance gets us thinking, oh, I'm never going to be able to do this forever. So it becomes a forever problem. And resistance tells you that if you keep thinking this is going to be a forever problem, then you're never going to stop, because who wants to stop drinking alcohol forever? It just seems too vast, too big. So we use this assignment called time to ask people to really drill down and pick a Monday, for example, really drill down and say, well, how big is this problem? Right? How big is this problem? So a typical bog standard person will get up at, say, any time between 6 and 8 o'clock in the morning on a Monday. They're not going to be drinking alcohol, right? And then they're going to be going to work. So let's say they go to work till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, you've got from midnight on Monday, trouble note 1 on Monday, to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, okay? And you have not had a drink of alcohol. You've been in a space where you can't drink alcohol, okay? And it's likely that you're not even triggered to drink up until sometime in the afternoon anyway. But then you have, like, between 4 o'clock and, say, 8 o'clock, where you've got an issue, right? So from 4 till 8, you've got a 4-hour gap where you might be triggered to drink alcohol. Now, on a midweek, rather than thinking to yourself, wow, this is a massive problem, now your problem is, I need to fill my 4-hour window on a Monday with something that doesn't trigger me to drink alcohol, okay? So it really narrows the focus down to a smaller period of time. The reason Saturday is more of a challenge to people than midweek is we don't go to work on a Saturday. Not all of us. Most of us don't. It's our day off. So because it's our day off, particularly if it's sunny and beautiful, like if we live in the UK, for example, we could, some of us, be triggered from 11, 12 o'clock in the afternoon for the rest of the day. So it's really important to just recognize that we do need to put in extra, we need to have an artillery to deal with our triggers on the weekend, which is much more powerful and much more larger. We need more things in our toolkit than we do in the midweek, okay? So it's Saturday. We're at a friend's house. Now, I just want to make a little comment on the friend's house thing. What we're trying to push people to do at 1000 Days Sober right now is to have a trigger toolkit. So if I'm triggered, I have taken a vow that I will do 10 things before I drink alcohol, all right? Because those 10 things, those 10 tools, those 10 weapons are designed to stretch the period from stimulus to response as far as you can. So stimulus is I feel like drinking, and response is I drink. Okay, what we want to do is widen that as far as we can because it's less likely that we will drink. So if we do these 10 things, go for a walk, walk the dog, have a bath, do some yoga, meditate, do some exercise, do some mantras, whatever it is, then it's going to widen the gap between stimulus and response, and you're less likely to drink. Okay, if you're at a friend's house, it's less difficult. It's more difficult to control. It's more difficult to do those 10 things. If you're at home, it's easier to roll out your toolkit, okay? Because you're at home, right? Let's say, for example, one of your 10 things is to let out a primal scream. I'm not gonna drink alcohol today, right? Let's say that's one of your toolkits. It's pretty difficult to do that, isn't it? If you're at your mate's house, you know. So think about this when you're creating your trigger toolkit. Think about, well, does this toolkit actually work if I'm at work? Does this toolkit actually work if I'm in a pub or a club? Does this toolkit actually work if I'm in a restaurant? Does this toolkit work if I'm driving along the motorway listening to The Prodigy and it's triggering me to drink alcohol? So you can create trigger toolkits for different scenarios in your life, and then when you're in the car, or in this case when you're at a friend's house, you could just roll out the toolkit that works for that particular environment and that particular scenario. So you've always got 10 things to do before you drink. Just so I put that out there. Okay. So what was she doing before the trigger? She was having lunch with a book club. Who was she with? The other members of the book club. So we're talking about 12 friends and acquaintances. Why is that an important question? Who am I with, right? It's an important question because who am I with and where am I? Who am I with and where am I? The reason these are important questions belongs to toxicity. Okay? So, irrespective of whether we drink alcohol or not, we will know when we're in the presence of some people that they're toxic. We can feel the energy around them, that we know they're toxic. There's something about them we don't like. Okay? So, for somebody that I'm working with privately at the moment, he doesn't like people who are unkind, deliberately unkind. So to him, unkind people are toxic, right? And then we think of toxic environments. So not when Jude last came to Los Angeles to see me and we went for a walk downtown, we ended up down Skid Row by accident. Skid Row is a toxic place for me and Jude to be, especially when Jude's there with all his bling on him, right? It's a toxic environment, right? You don't want to be around there. There's a lot of drugs, a lot of homelessness, a lot of crime. It's toxic. You want to stay away from it. So the rule of thumb, the rule of thumb in life, this is at a macro level, but if you drill it down to the micro level of addiction, we want to stay away from toxic people and we want to stay away from toxic environments, okay? Now, we can love people, but they can be toxic. They could be our family, but they could be toxic. So, for example, my mum, dad, all my sisters, they all drink. Let's say it's Christmas and there's a party around their house and everybody's bollocking the wine and the champagne down them, and my mum and dad are smoking, right, in that house. And they're all celebrating, they're all having a laugh. For me, that is a toxic environment, and those people are toxic for me, because they don't align and their behaviors don't align with my values. It doesn't mean that I don't love them. It doesn't mean that they're not fantastic people. But for me, in what I want in my life and who I want to be surrounded by and the environments that I want to exist in that moment, on that day, that is a toxic environment, and the people are toxic, or the behaviors that they're getting into are toxic to me. Okay, that doesn't mean that 2 days later we can't all get together in Wagamama in Bridgend and have a wonderful time together, and hardly anybody's drinking, or if they are, it's really minimal, and we're all having a good conversation, right? It's really important to understand that difference. And if you want to be someone that doesn't drink alcohol, you need to stay away from toxic people and toxic environments, all right? Now, this doesn't sound like it's a majorly toxic environment for other people and the environment for Kim, but Kim's not here to speak to her about this, but I'm sure she'll be watching it. So Kim, you need to ask yourself, well, is the book club just this raving drunk fest, like with a raving load of drunks, and the book is just like a minor part of it? Or is the book a major part of it and the drinking is like really irrelevant? That's a question that I would ask him. Like how toxic is this from 10 to 1? And if it's like 3 or 4, it's not an issue, is it? The other thing to remember is, and I say this a lot, is how confident you are about your choice to be someone that doesn't drink alcohol is really important. Really important, okay? So very few people give me shit about being someone that doesn't drink alcohol because I fucking love being someone that doesn't drink alcohol. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of my decision. I'm proud of the work that I did to get here. I'm proud of the fact that I help other people quit as well. I'm proud of the fact of the way that it makes me look, the way that it makes me feel, right? I am super proud of it and super confident and courageous and brave as a result of it. So when I am in a book club with 12 people drinking with their champagne, that confidence exudes out of me. So I pick up my flute, I ask them to put sparkling water in, and I fucking clink those glasses. And if anyone says to me, hey, Lee, why aren't you drinking? With extreme confidence and vulnerability and assurance in my life choices, I tell them, well, the reason that I drink alcohol is because it fucked me up in my first relationship and it made me act like a complete dick and it hurt me big time in so many ways, and I decided to stop, and when I did, everything in my life changed for the better, and I learned so much about it, and I'm never going to go back because I fucking love being sober. And I say that with so much confidence and surety. It's really difficult for someone then to say, just have one. You fucking dick. You pussy. What's the matter with you? Okay? Now, I do have the odd friend that might say something like that. I say friend, more like acquaintance, old friend. Okay? But they're in such small, like, it's so minuscule to me because I don't associate and hang around those people that it's not a problem. Okay? And I could either laugh it off or I could say, hey, I'm not going to take that. All right? If you want to talk shit, go somewhere else and talk it. But again, doing that with some confidence. Now, that confidence and that courage comes with the choice to be someone that doesn't drink alcohol. Okay? Coming from a place of abundance, which is very different than coming from a place of scarcity and saying, I need to stop drinking alcohol. I should stop drinking alcohol because it's making me feel bad. It's killing me. It's spoiling my relationships, blah, blah, blah. If you come from a place of scarcity and shoulds and all this kind of language, you're telling your subconscious that you don't really want to stop drinking, but you have to. And that will create lack. And that will create a desire. And that will create a craving. And this is why you'll have triggers. And it gives power to resistance because resistance will sniff out your weakness. Resistance will sniff out that you don't really want to drink alcohol and it'll fucking smash you. And you won't know what's fucking hit you. Feel like you've had 12 rounds with Mike Tyson. Okay? So you need to really build a confidence. You really need to get into the habit of closing your eyes and of really visualizing what it is like to be someone that doesn't drink alcohol. How does it feel to be healthy? How does it feel for your skin to look so beautiful? How does it feel to look young again? How does it feel to be hangover free? How does it feel to not vomit? How does it feel to be just supremely healthy? How does it feel to be making those choices? And really feel it and embody that feeling, not just think it. Okay? So then we can make a choice to be that. Because your brain doesn't know the difference between you visualizing and thinking about your state of being and you actually having that state of being, right? This is why world-class athletes do this. They visualize getting over the finishing line. What does it feel like? The crowd and the noise, how does that feel? The sensation of holding up the trophy, how does that feel? The success, how does that feel? And replay that through your mind. So you could do the same thing when it comes to alcohol addiction. And then in this case, with Kim, when you're around 12 people in a book club with that supreme confidence, then you say to yourself, when you start to get triggered, what's going on here right now? Do I feel the need for approval? Do I feel the need for security? Or do I feel the need for control? And in this case, for me, it screams out of approval. Okay, I need approval for these people. They're all drinking champagne and I'm not, and I need their approval that that's okay. So then you say to yourself with this supreme confidence, do I approve of myself? Do I believe that I am a beautiful human being that deserves to be on this planet? Do I believe that I made an amazing, incredible choice that aligns with my value of health and well-being of not pouring a poisonous drug down my throat that kills 3.3 million people a year, that I'm a good role model for my children, that I'm going to live longer as a result of it, that I'm going to have a more connected, deeper relationship with my husband because of it, that I'm going to be a better employee or employer because of it. Am I happy? Do I approve of myself? Fuck yes, I approve of myself. Okay? So then think about that as you're doing that, and you could just slip away to the toilet and do that. And then you can come back in and sit down and look at people and be like, that's their choice. That's their business. This is my choice. This is my business. Okay? And 99.9% of the time, the thought that they're judging you is a thought only created by you. And there's some arrogance in that because we cannot read people's minds. It's a cognitive distortion. Fortune telling is a cognitive distortion that creates pain in you because you created a thought and the thought got turned into words. They are judging me and they think I'm not normal and I think I'm not normal, which leads to an action, which is I'm going to drink champagne, which will lead to an emotion. Now, in this case, it may lead to an emotion of guilt and shame, but it's more likely to lead to an emotion of happiness, joy, and fitting in, and the guilt and shame will actually come later. So it's reinforcing the short-term instant gratification memory that we have, the belief that we have that champagne helps us fit in, the bubbles are really fantastic, and it makes me feel a little bit giddy and loose. We're trying to break that association, and we've just fallen straight into it, okay? Because of our thought that got turned into words, that got turned into action, that got turned into an emotion, that then became a memory that we stored in our head. So the next time we go to the book club and there's 12 people and they get the champagne out, we don't spend time and waste energy thinking about what to do. Our subconscious goes into the rule book, leaps to the right page and says, oh, you're supposed to drink champagne right now. And that's what we do, okay? So really important. How was Kim feeling emotionally? She says, when I came out of the bathroom to the lunch table and saw the champagne had been brought out and people were filling their glasses, I felt trepidation. I felt anxious, uncomfortable, out of sorts, a little jealous that these normal drinkers, moderately uncomfortable, confronted, a little panicky, a bit insecure, like I wanted to go home and be in my own surroundings and routine. What I like about this emotional aspect of it, I have a list of about 60 emotions, and we provide it for people when they do the 1,000 Day Sober Experience. Actually, the Strive Method for Addictions, because we changed the name. And it's really good to look down these emotions. Oh, I felt that. Oh, I felt that. Because there are emotions you were feeling that you can't put words to. And then going through that list really helps to really kind of understand this emotional experience. And everything that Kim talks about here, we can all relate to if we've tried to come at this from a place of lack and scarcity. When we've tried to do something we don't really want to do, and we're not confident that we can do it. You know, remember, motivation is equal parts importance and confidence, okay? So we need to get those up to a 10 out of 10 in order for us to get the motivation to do this stuff. And sometimes our confidence can wane a little bit, particularly if we've got this outside-in way of being, where we're always worried about what other people think and feel. So we covered the aspect of champagne as it relates to status. And just in a nutshell, in a pistachio nutshell, status is the invisible, well, there's two forms of status. There's tangible, visible status, right? So a good example is the military. So there are ranks in military order. I don't know what they are, but you've got a grunt at the bottom, and then at the top you've got the commander-in-chief or whatever, who's like Donald Trump in the USA, right? But you get my point. You've got different ranks. That is a status hierarchy, okay? And generally, in status hierarchies, the people at the top are deemed to be more special and more successful, and they are rewarded more than the people at the bottom, all right? But there's also an invisible status hierarchy that we create ourselves. It doesn't exist. We don't see it. A good example is in your friendship group. So let's say you hang around with 5 people all the time. There will be an invisible status hierarchy within those 5 people. You will have placed yourself somewhere in that rung of 5 people, either the top, the bottom, or somewhere in the middle. And then every action we take is designed to either increase our status in that hierarchy, maintain the status quo, or decrease it. Now, increasing it is quite obvious. I want people to like me more, or I want to like myself more. So I'm going to take behaviors that get me higher in the status hierarchy. Status quo is I'm quite happy where I am in this hierarchy, so my decisions are going to reflect that. Why would we lower our status in a hierarchy? I would say that that's kind of like a shadow behavior with a hidden agenda. So let's say, for example, we know when we drink alcohol, our husband, who normally doesn't pay any attention to us whatsoever, we could be a ghost in the house, he starts to pay attention to us because he knows he's likely to get sex if I'm drinking on a Saturday night. Or maybe he's been trained that when we drink alcohol, that it is a sign that we're suffering, and he's going to pay attention to us. Either way, it's a hidden agenda, isn't it? So we're lowering our status, but really we're increasing our status in the eyes of the person who's going to come to our aid. We're becoming a victim, and we want a hero to come and rescue us. Okay, so that's a little bit about status there. I just wanted to put in. So when it comes to being a little jealous of these normal drinkers, that's a status battle. So in Kim's world, I'm talking about inside her head, there's this hierarchy that says that a belief that says that people who drink alcohol and they're able to moderate are normal. So everybody else outside of that context is not. So people who drink too much alcohol, they're not normal, and people who don't drink alcohol, they're not normal either, right? So that is something that needs to be addressed, right? So, but we need to believe in the story that we tell ourselves, otherwise it won't stick. So it's no good to say, well, actually, we're the normal ones because we don't drink a powerful poison that kills 3.3 million people a year. It's not normal to drink that poison. It is abnormal to drink it. Okay? We could tell ourselves that, but we need to 100% believe it. But the statistics don't help us, do they? Because we know that alcoholism is an invisible, violent, and dominant belief system, or that's what I believe, and people at 1000 Days Sober believe. Okay? And the reason that it is a dominant belief system is more people drink alcohol than they don't. So, you know, in the context of how we understand what is normal, numbers comes into the equation in the way that we form our beliefs. So if we look around us and we see that everybody drinks alcohol, most people do, it actually becomes normal to drink alcohol. All right? Now, I believe personally that it is not normal to drink a poison, but I understand why people do. So that helps me with the belief system that actually I'm doing the normal thing by not drinking. But that's because I haven't drunk for a very, very, very long time. Okay? So I prefer, when we're struggling, is to say to ourselves, yeah, it is normal to do that, but why do I have to do what everybody else does? Why? Why do I have to conform? What is going on here? You know, what is the cost-benefit analysis of conforming? What do I gain? And what am I giving up? And what I want 1000 Days Sober to be is an environment where we encourage individuality and creativity, not following the herd, not following the flock. Okay? Now, I know there's a bit of a paradox there because strivers are a flock. Strivers are a herd. We are of like-minded people. But we're always kind of careful around the dogma and how it serves us and helps us, whilst at the same time allowing our individuality to shine and grow, which is the evolution phase of the Strive method for addictions, right? So in this case with Kim, my advice would actually be, define normal. Like, do work outside of this trigger on what normal is as it applies to people drinking alcohol and being in these situations. And also be careful of the perceptions that we're making. Let's say there's somebody in there, and we've seen them like regularly go into these book clubs and just having a glass or two of champagne. How do we not know that when they go home, they're drinking bottles of Listerine? How do we know that when they go home, they're not smoking weed? How do we know that when they go home, they're not binge eating cookies while they're watching Netflix? How do we know that they're not absolutely consumed with BDSM porn? How do we know that they're not screaming at their kids? How do we know that they stonewall their husband? If you want to know what normal is, let me give you a new viewpoint on what normal is, which is my thought only and is not based in any reality. I've got no evidence to back it up. But I would suggest that most people are fucked up. That most people are addicted to something. That most people are in pain. That most people are not getting their needs met. That most people are afraid to change the dynamic because it's become too comfortable. That the pain of not getting their needs met and living a life of lack is just what they know, and trying to change that is a fucking nightmare, and thinking about it and skirting around the edges of it is a disaster. Think about relationships for a moment. We have the Strive method for relationships. It's a next 6-month experience. If you're interested in it, then go to www.1000dayssober.com and book a call with me, and we'll chat about it, right? The first exercise you do in that is the relationship paradox. So the relationship paradox comes from the work of David Burns. And David Burns says that one of the problems with therapists is when a couple goes to see a therapist, the therapist thinks that the couple want to get closer together. So the therapist rolls out all the tools and techniques they can to try to get them together. But the paradox is they don't want to be closer together. Very often, hate's a very strong word. They really don't fucking like each other. And they want to be angry. And they want to fight. And they want to sit there in the therapist's couch and say, this fucking person is out of order. I'm doing all the work and this person's doing nothing. They want to fight. They want to battle. And if you don't deal with that and understand that that is normal, okay, then you're just pissing in the wind, right? You're just pissing in the wind. So everybody has an issue. Everyone has a problem. And I would say 99.9% of our problems are rooted in relational literacy, our understanding of how to have relationships and how to communicate with ourselves and with other people. And this aspect of how I was feeling emotionally and Kim talking about normal drinkers, it's rooted in that. It's rooted in that whole thing around relationships and connection and communication. And what we're doing is we're perceiving that these people are just so completely different than we are. But what is really happening is that conversation is being driven by resistance, because resistance wants you to drink, because resistance is feeling uncomfortable that everybody else around you is drinking, and resistance doesn't want you to feel like the odd one out. But once you can silence resistance, you can see that there's great power in being the odd one out. There's great power in being the change agent. There's great power in being the role model. And it's not power that comes from external validation. It's not, oh, look at me, I'm so fucking superb and excellent. Come on, give me the energy. It's not fixed mindset, suck it all in so I can feed my ego. It's not that at all. It's about authenticity. It's about radical honesty. It's about taking the mask off. It's about dropping the armor. It's about walking into a book club 100% confident that you can be who the fuck you really are. That is what it's about. And that is what we're trying to teach people and help people at 1000 Days Sober. So many people say to me, Lee, why did you share that? Lee, what did you talk about that for? Oh, Lee, you told your wife what? You did what? This is me. I have nothing to hide. Right? I have nothing to hide. Anybody can ask me a question on anything and I'll tell them exactly how I feel and think. Because I know with some assurity that all these fucked up thoughts and feelings go through the minds of most human beings, if not every single human being on this planet. I would actually say every single human being on this planet has terrible fucked up thoughts, right? It's just the way it is. So we need to get into this radical authenticity. At the very root of it, getting authentic allows you to process your trigger. You can't process your trigger if you're not being authentic. So kudos to Kim here. Every time Kim goes to the triggers, or anyone else at Strive goes to triggers, they're being radically authentic. They're flexing that muscle. They're getting used to it. Okay? So it's okay to be insecure. It's okay to feel a little bit uncomfortable. It's okay to feel all those things. You know? I might feel all these things in a book club, but it might not even be around alcohol. It might be the fact that I just don't want to be around fucking people. And I don't want to be around people who are not authentic. Right? Like, it could be that as well. It's okay. But we do need to change our dynamic and our thinking around the choice that we're making, and make it be a choice that we're making that's coming from a place of love and connectedness, and then build the belief and the conviction that what I'm doing is my normal. And my normal is that I don't drink alcohol. Okay? Question 9. What perceived value do I believe alcohol provides at this moment? So Kim says, it will make me feel like one of the crowd, normal, and take away all of the emotions mentioned in question 7. So she won't feel anxious and all this kind of thing. It would give me freedom, go with the flow, enjoy the bubbles, and a happy and carefree feeling. So she's being ruled by these feelings here, right? And the alcohol becomes a beautiful get out of jail free card. Like, we could just drink this elixir of life, and all of a sudden we don't have these problems until she wakes up the next morning and she realizes that she broke her vow, that she stepped out of integrity, that she told herself a lie, that she wasn't capable of holding it together. And then she'll start to beat herself up. And then she'll start to feel demoralized. And then she'll go into denial. And then she'll feel judgment. And then she'll get into this cycle of the fuck it, and she might even drink some more and some more and some more until eventually she gets her shit together. And by the time she gets her shit together, everybody around her who has faith in her, that faith drops a little bit. Imagine the faith in Kim is this cup brimming with it. And every time she steps out of integrity, we tip a little bit out until eventually there's no faith in there anymore. It's like the boy who cried wolf. Quick, quick, quick. The wolf is coming to eat me. And the village is like, fuck, I don't believe that this is happening. And then the boy gets eaten alive, right? So why am I saying this? It sounds really harsh. Because you need to look at value from a long-term lens. Addiction is looking at value from a short-term instant gratification lens. Yeah, if I stick this needle in my arm, I'm going to get this instant hit. But long-term, I'm going to probably lose my job. My health's going to fall apart. I'm probably going to lose my husband, my wife, etc., etc. Okay? So you have to look at this through long-term pain. And I'm telling you, if you can't look through the lens of value long-term and find enough pain for you to stop, or enough pleasure for you to stop, then you're really going to find it difficult to stop drinking alcohol. You're really going to find it difficult, okay? So The value, when you look at it, is, yeah, right now this is going to help me. But all it is doing is it is blocking you from what your body is trying to provide you with in that moment. So your body is trying to provide you with feelings. It's trying to say to you, this is uncomfortable. Feel the uncomfortableness. Because we need you to recognize that you need to change something. Right? We're giving you a sign that you need to change something. Okay? That's a gift. That's a gift. So when we're in there and we feel uncomfortable, we know we've got to change something, or we've got to practice sitting through it, which is what Kim did on this occasion. She didn't just sit through it, but she ended up in a conversation with somebody about not drinking. It got her through, and she never actually felt like drinking. It was just a minimal trigger, and she got out the other end and she was okay, right? So value and how we recognize it is really important. Like if she wants to fit in and be part of the crowd and feel like normal, that's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is we don't need substances to help us do that. We need to build up the skill set and the confidence and the courage to do that without substances. But if we keep taking the substances, we're never going to do the work, right? We're never going to do the work. And if you do the work and you go into these situations without using substances, you're going to be a more courageous, brave, whole human being, and that's what we're after, right? How could the perceived value be delusional? She's saying, I am actually the normal one here because I'm the only one not drinking a poison. There definitely would have been no happy and carefree feeling because I would have known full well as I drank the poison that I was trashing my vow, breaking trust, not keeping my word, and doing something that I know deep in my soul I just didn't want to do. The long-term pain of taking that drink was just not worth the short-term perceived pleasure of saying no to the champagne. Nothing more to say to that. I think that's beautifully put. And what could I do differently? Well, she says, I didn't drink, and I had an authentic chat to a friend who was sitting next to me about my journey and my quest to be alcohol-free, the belief system, and the importance society places on alcohol, and I drank lots of water instead. So she reacted really well. And I know, because I spoke to her, she didn't even have to use her trigger toolkit because she felt in control. So she comes out of the bathroom, she sees people drinking, she has this wobble, but this wobble is based on an old memory and an old mindset of the way things used to be. She sits down, she composes herself, she gets her confidence up, and she has a conversation with someone about how she's feeling. Perfect. Nothing else to add there. Okay? How do you feel now? I knew that I would not drink at the lunch. It was like over my dead body. Would I have allowed wine to touch my lips? It was not negotiable. The trigger passed before I even got home, and I felt proud of myself and empowered, calm, and peaceful. So every time we get over this, it's really super important that we celebrate that. And we celebrate it by screaming and cheering, hugging ourselves, whatever it is. We celebrate the shit out of it because it's reinforcing biologically as well as psychologically that when we don't drink, we reward ourselves because of it instead of thinking that the drink is the reward. So celebration in this instance is really, really important. Kim goes on to say later, ironically, this group of women know I don't drink and that I haven't for a long time. They don't know about my struggles over the last few months because I only see them periodically. And I wouldn't share my struggles with them because I don't believe that they've earned the right to hear them. And she says, quoting Brené Brown there isn't a level of trust there, and they are firmly of the belief that alcohol is normal and pleasurable, so I wouldn't go there. How do I feel about that? I feel that it's okay. Myself personally, I don't need no more to trust in other people that they'll hold the right space for me. I trust in my own truth. So I place trust in my truth and me speaking my truth. And I'm comfortable and confident of dealing with the backlash of that truth. If you're not, then that's something that I think we should work on at 1000 Days Sober. So Kim, if you're listening to this, that's something to work on, I think. I didn't feel I needed to use my toolkit. I knew I wouldn't drink and that I was in control because the pain of drinking was far greater than the short-term perceived pleasure of not drinking at lunch. I even knew that the pleasure was a delusion because I was certain once a drink touched my lips, I would regret it dreadfully. Other than the thought of the perceived pleasure that a glass of cold champagne and the physical effects of loosening up and going with the flow, if I had to choose one, she said, it would be security. Remember I said everything goes to approval, security, or control? She's saying security of being part of the tribe, which I also associate the loosening up and going with the flow feeling. I think there was also a little nostalgia there with champagne lunches of the past, where the champagne was given the credit for the event being so fun and happy, even though I realize now it was the atmosphere and the company, not the champagne. That's a really important point, that we think of an event like a wedding, and we think that the champagne actually improved that experience, but it's bullshit. It is the dancing. It is the feeling. It is the connection. It is the deep connection and communication and the laughing. And all of these things diminish the more we drink. So the drink is there, but it's just a red herring. It's like me saying, I'm at a wedding and I'm chewing on a pen, and I say, wow, like that wedding was like a great night because of my pen. You know, like I chewed on my pen all night, and it was like an amazing part of the whole thing. But it's not the pen. It's the way I connect with people, and I'm dancing and the atmosphere and everything about the wedding. It's not the pen, right? And that's the same with alcohol. I might have a pint of lager in my hand, but it doesn't talk to me. It doesn't have deep conversations with me. It doesn't dance with me. It doesn't have sex with me. It doesn't turn me on. It doesn't, it does nothing. It's just fucking there in my hand. And when I drink it, it doesn't improve my connection with people. It doesn't improve anything. It decreases the value in all those other things, right? Decreases them. Okay? So really important. The only area I differ with Kim on this is I don't think that this desire to drink is rooted in security. I think security is an aspect of it, but I think it's rooted in approval. I need to seek approval from this tribe. And to do that, I need to drink. And then if I do that, it will give me security, and I will feel in control. All right? That's what I think is going on here, is approval. If Kim were to walk into this situation and think, I don't give a fuck what people think because I fucking love myself and I think I'm an amazing human being, doesn't matter what they're doing. I don't give a shit. I'm just going to do what I want to do because I don't need their approval, right? I think that comes before security in this, because it's the same thing. It's like, why would you want to feel secure about being with a bunch of people that you don't want to be around, right? Like, you don't want security, and if you've got approval of yourself, you feel secure. You feel secure in yourself, okay? And then if you feel secure in yourself, then you can look at a situation like a book club and feel, is this the right place for me? Do I feel secure here? But I think it comes from a place of approval. Anyway, I hope that helps. I'm going to stop there. Oh, Kevin Ains jumped in. Wales, Wales. Nice to see you, Clevie. Long time no speak. I'm going to go and leave you alone. If you want to find out more about the magical work we do at 1000 Days Sober, then go to www.1000dayssober.com and book a Choose Yourself call with me. We have a 6-month program called the Strive Method for Addictions, and we have a 6-month program called the Strive Method for Relationships. And we also have an option to just join our support system called Strive. So if you want to join any of those things and get serious about stopping drinking alcohol, then head to there and do that. Also, check out 1000 Days Sober podcast. You're here at Facebook, obviously. Check out 1000 Days Sober at Instagram as well. Okay? Take care, you lovely people. See you later.